My friend, let me tell you something that might sound strange at first, but will make complete sense in a few minutes. If you're close to accumulating $1 million in investments, or if you've already gotten there, the worst thing you can do is go around telling people. I know it seems counterintuitive. You've worked your whole life, made sacrifices, made tough decisions, and now you've finally reached that number everyone talks about. And there's a part of you that wants to share this victory, that wants people to know you made it. But here's the truth nobody tells you. The moment you reveal that number, everything changes. And it doesn't change for the better. Because look, life isn't fair, my friend. Some of us were born with advantages, others with disadvantages. Some inherited money, others inherited debt. Some had access to quality education, others had to fight for every opportunity. And if you're watching this now, you probably belong to those who lost the birth lottery and had to work twice, 3 times as hard to get where you are. And that's admirable. But here's the problem. When you share that you have $1 million saved up, the people around you don't see your effort. They see the result. And that result makes you look rich in their eyes, even though in your reality you're just ensuring you won't struggle for the next 30 years. And then a dangerous game begins. Your family, your friends, people you genuinely love, start seeing you differently. You become the solution to their financial problems. You become the family bank. And every time you help, you create an expectation. Every time you say yes, it becomes harder to say no the next time. And before you know it, that $1 million that should give you freedom is imprisoning you in a cycle of requests, expectations, and guilt. You start questioning whether you're being selfish for wanting to protect what you built. And while you deal with this pressure, your carefully structured financial plan starts crumbling, one small favor at a time. So if you really want to protect your retirement, if you want that money to fulfill the role it was designed to fulfill, you need to learn the art of staying silent. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why this matters so much, what happens when you ignore this advice, and how you can establish boundaries that protect both your future and your relationships. Because the truth is you can be generous and still protect what's yours. You just need to understand the rules of the game before you start playing. So let's go. There's something curious that happens the moment you mention numbers. You might just be sharing information, something that seems neutral and factual. But the word million carries a weight that goes far beyond mathematics. It's like you've activated a switch in the minds of people around you. Suddenly, you're no longer just you. You become the person who has money, the person who's comfortable, the person who can solve financial problems. And that changes everything, even when nobody openly admits it. The thing is, people can't process that number within the real context of your life. They compare it to their own reality. If someone has $30,000 saved and struggles to pay bills, hearing that you've accumulated $1 million sounds like an immeasurable fortune. It's as if you won life's lottery. But you know it's not quite like that. You know that money has specific jobs ahead, programmed expenses, a delicate structure that needs to function for decades. But that nuance is completely lost in the conversation. What starts to happen is subtle at first. Someone mentions a financial difficulty during a family lunch. Another comments about an opportunity they're missing due to lack of resources. And even without anyone asking directly, you feel the looks. There's an unspoken expectation floating in the air. People start assuming you have room to help, that you have flexibility, that saying yes would be easy for someone in your position. And the more time passes since that conversation where you mentioned the number, the more these expectations solidify. Think about how relationships work before money enters the equation. There's a balance and natural reciprocity. Everyone contributes what they can, and nobody feels like a debtor or creditor. But when people believe you have much more than them, that balance disappears. You start being seen through a different lens. Your choices are questioned differently. If you decline an invitation for an expensive trip, someone might think, but he can afford it. If you hesitate to lend money, the idea arises that you're being selfish with a fortune you don't even need. The real problem here isn't that the people around you are ill-intentioned. Most of the time, they genuinely love you. But the way the human brain handles financial comparisons creates distortions. When someone is facing difficulties and knows you have resources, it's almost impossible for that person not to see an obvious solution. For them, you lending $20,000 is like you lending $20 to someone earning an average salary. It seems proportional, reasonable, even generous on their part for asking for so little. But the reality of your financial planning tells a completely different story. And then you find yourself trapped in an emotional dilemma that shouldn't exist. You start questioning your own decisions. Am I being stingy? Did I accumulate all this just to stare at numbers on a screen? Shouldn't I be using this money to help those I love? These questions can erode your confidence in the plan you built so carefully. And while you deal with this internal pressure, external expectations only increase, creating a cycle that can lead you to make decisions that compromise the entire future you worked so hard to secure. When you tell someone you have $1 million saved up, the image that forms in that person's head is of unlimited abundance. It's as if you've unlocked a level of life where money simply isn't a concern anymore. But the truth is, $1 million in retirement isn't a giant bank account waiting to be spent. It's an engine that needs to run consistently, efficiently, and carefully for the next 20, 30, maybe 40 years of your life. And anything that interferes with that engine's operation can compromise the entire journey. Let's put this in practical perspective. If you follow a conservative withdrawal strategy, something around 4% annually, that $1 million delivers approximately $40,000 per year before taxes. Now, $40,000 might seem comfortable, and in many places it's possible to live well on that. But think about everything that amount needs to cover. Your day-to-day expenses, food, housing, and transportation. Rising healthcare costs which only increase as you age. Inflation that erodes your purchasing power every year. And still the unexpected events that life always brings, like home repairs, medical emergencies, or lifestyle adjustments you didn't plan. There's also a layer of complexity that most people don't see. This money isn't simply sitting there waiting for you to withdraw. It's invested, working to generate returns that sustain your withdrawals. And that means you're exposed to market fluctuations. If you retire and shortly after the market drops, you face what we call sequence of returns risk. Basically, you're withdrawing money from a portfolio that's losing value, which can accelerate the depletion of your resources. The first 10 years of your retirement are critical precisely because of this. Any big mistake in this period can be difficult or even impossible to recover from. Another point that goes unnoticed is the tax issue. Depending on how your money is structured, between traditional retirement accounts, Roth IRAs, or taxable investments, the order in which you make your withdrawals can make an enormous difference in the amount of money that's actually available to you. There's a strategy behind each withdrawal. You can't just take what you need from anywhere. You have to think about minimizing taxes, preserving portfolio growth, keeping everything balanced. It's like piloting an airplane. You can't just accelerate and hope everything works. You need to constantly adjust altitude, speed, and direction. And there's more. Once you stop working, that flow of new money entering your life simply ceases. No more salary, no more bonuses, and not that feeling of security that comes from knowing money arrives every month. What you have now is a finite number that needs to last. And if you overspend, there's no easy way to go back. You can't just take more hours at work or negotiate a raise. Money that goes out is money that won't be there anymore to generate future returns. That's why every spending decision needs to be evaluated not just by the value itself, but by the long-term impact it causes. So while your friends and family look at that $1 million and see total freedom, you're actually managing an extremely sensitive system. It's like having a garden that needs the exact amount of water. Too much water and you drown the plants. Too little and they die. Balance is everything. And protecting that balance means understanding that uncontrolled generosity, emotional spending, or decisions based on external pressure can be the difference between a peaceful retirement and one where you need to go back to work at 70 because the money ran out early. The real danger usually doesn't come from a single big decision. It's rarely an obvious, catastrophic mistake you can identify and avoid. What really erodes a well-planned retirement are the small exceptions. Those moments where you think, just this once, or it won't make a difference. A child needs $5,000 to cover an emergency. Another needs $8,000 to not miss an opportunity to buy something important. You pay for a family trip because, after all, you're retired and can enjoy this time together. Each decision in isolation seems reasonable, even kind. But when you add them all up over a few years, the impact is devastating. Let's be clear about what's happening here. These expenses weren't in your plan. You didn't wake up on your retirement day and say, "I'm going to set aside $30,000 per year to help other people." But that's exactly what ends up happening when you give in to these requests repeatedly. And the worst part is these expenses usually happen in the first years of retirement, precisely when your portfolio is most vulnerable. If you're withdrawing 6 or 7% per year instead of the planned 4%, and this happens during a market downturn, you're basically accelerating the clock on your money running out. What should last 30 years might not last 20. There's also a psychological problem that sets in. When you help someone once, you establish a precedent. The person who received that support now knows you can help. And the next time they face difficulty, guess who they're going to turn to? And if you say no this time, the person might feel rejected, confused, even hurt. They might think, "But last time you helped, why not now?" You've unintentionally created an expectation of continuous support. And breaking that expectation becomes emotionally much harder than never having helped from the start. There's another side to this story that's rarely discussed. When you're constantly saying yes to financial requests, you start changing the dynamics of your relationships. People stop seeing you as dad, mom, friend, brother. You become the family bank. And banks don't have deep conversations about life. Banks approve or deny loans. This creates an emotional distance that hurts on both sides. You feel you're being used. The other person feels you're judging their financial choices. And in the middle of all that, the genuine connection you had is lost. Here's the hardest part to accept. You probably won't notice the damage until it's too late. Because these emotional expenses are gradual. They don't trigger any immediate alarms. You look at your account balance and think, "It's still good." But when you sit down with a financial planner and they put all these small leaks in a spreadsheet, you see the pattern. You see that those $5,000 here and $8,000 there added up to $40,000 in a year. And that, if this continues, you won't be able to maintain the lifestyle you planned. You'll have to make cuts. Maybe stop traveling. Maybe sell the house. Maybe depend on the same children you helped. And then we reach the most ironic point of all. When you help people financially in an uncontrolled way, you're not just risking your own security. You're potentially creating a situation where you'll become a burden to these same people in the future. Because if your money runs out before you do, someone will need to support you. And usually it's the children. So that generous help today can turn into devastating dependence tomorrow. And nobody wants that. Not you and not them. But that's exactly where these small yes are leading you if you don't establish clear boundaries now. The best defense you can build for your retirement doesn't involve more sophisticated investments or complex tax strategies. It involves something much simpler and much more uncomfortable. It involves learning to keep information to yourself. We're not talking about lying to the people you love. We're talking about being intentional about what you share and with whom. Because the truth is, most people in your life don't need to know how much money you have. They don't need that number to love you, to respect you, or to maintain a healthy relationship with you. In fact, knowing that number usually complicates everything. Think about who really needs to know the details of your financial situation. Your spouse, obviously. Your financial planner, if you work with one. Maybe your lawyer or accountant, depending on how your finances are structured. And possibly someone you trust if that's part of your estate planning. But your adult children? Your siblings? Your friends? They don't need a specific number. They can know you're comfortable, that you've planned well, that you're at peace. But the exact amount? That only creates problems that don't need to exist. Now, if you've already made the mistake of sharing that number, there's still time to establish boundaries. And the sooner you do this, the better. You can have an honest and direct conversation with the people around you. Something like, "We talked with our financial planner and he helped us understand that we need to be very careful with extra withdrawals. Our money is structured to support us for the next 30 years, and any unplanned spending can compromise that." You're not being rude. You're being responsible. And if someone truly loves you, that person will understand. There's a phrase that can save many difficult conversations. Instead of asking, "Do we have the money for this?" start asking, "Is this in our plan?" Because the answer to the first question might be yes, you technically have the money. But the answer to the second question might be no, this wasn't planned, and doing this means giving up something more important down the road. When you frame the decision this way, it becomes easier to say no. There's a mental exercise that can help. Every time someone asks you for money, imagine you're taking that amount not from your current balance, but from your future monthly income. If someone wants to borrow $10,000, think of it as reducing your monthly income by $30 or $40 forever. Because that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking money that should be working for you and generating returns. And those compound returns over years make a gigantic difference. That $10,000 loan could cost $50,000 or more in lost opportunities over 20 years. When you think like that, the decision becomes much clearer. And here's the liberating truth. The people who really matter, those who love you genuinely and healthily, will respect your boundaries. They might be disappointed at first, but they'll understand. And the relationships that depend on your money to exist, those aren't relationships you want to keep anyway. Protecting your retirement is self-preservation. It's ensuring you can live with dignity, independence, and peace of mind until the end of your life. And anyone who loves you will want that for you too, even if it means you can't always say yes when they need financial help. So, my friend, now you understand why keeping that number confidential isn't about distrust or selfishness. It's about protection. Protection of your future, protection of your relationships, protection of your peace of mind. And now comes the most important question. What are you going to do with this knowledge? Because knowledge without action is worthless. You can watch this entire video, agree with every word I said, and tomorrow commit exactly the same mistakes that destroy the retirement of thousands of people every year. So I want you to reflect on a few things. How many people in your life know exactly how much money you have? And of those people, how many really needed to know? If you've already shared too much, what boundaries do you need to establish now, today, before the situation gets worse? And if you haven't reached 1 million yet but are heading there, how are you going to protect that information when you arrive? Because you will arrive. And when you do, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember that someone warned you. And then you'll decide whether you're going to protect what you built or let other people's expectations dictate what you do with your money. Here's the reality. You can't control the circumstances you were born into. You can't change the fact that maybe you had to fight harder than others to get where you are. But you can control what you do from now on. You can choose to be smart with the money you've accumulated. You can choose to establish healthy boundaries. You can choose to protect the engine that will finance the rest of your life. And when you make these choices, you're not being selfish. You're being responsible. You're ensuring you'll never become a burden to anyone. Now, if this video made sense to you, if you want to continue learning about how to build and protect real wealth, I need you to do one thing. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Because we're here every week bringing content that will help you make better decisions with your money. And it doesn't stop here. Check out the other videos on the channel. There's a lot of content about financial planning, about retirement, about how to build wealth sustainably. Each video is a piece of the puzzle. And the more pieces you put together, the clearer the path you need to follow becomes. Before you go, my friend, I want you to know something. I believe in you. I believe in your ability to make difficult decisions, to establish boundaries when necessary, and to build the future you deserve. I know you've faced battles that many people will never understand. I know the path to here wasn't easy, and precisely because of that, I know you have within you the strength necessary to protect what you've achieved. Each of us carries unique challenges. Each faces obstacles others don't see. But there's something greater than any individual difficulty. It's our capacity to learn, to grow, to use our abilities to improve not just our own lives, but also contribute so other people around us reach their potential. And that's only possible when you're in a position of strength, not financial fragility. So keep studying, keep learning, keep seeking knowledge that transforms you into a better version of who you are today. Because financial education isn't just about accumulating money. It's about freedom, about options, and about dignity. And the more you learn, the more you can pass forward to those coming behind you. If this content added value to your life, consider subscribing to the channel. Watch other videos, Dive deep into these concepts, because every piece of information you absorb is one more tool in your arsenal to build the life you always wanted. And remember, my friend, the future isn't something that simply happens to you. It's something you build one decision at a time. So go out there and build yours. I'm rooting for you.